get pretty intense up here.
To provide protective cover.
I wouldn't want to do it any other way.
Hello, I'm Jerry Ravish on the USS George Washington off the coast of Iraq in the Arabian Gulf. Welcome to this special edition of Eyewitness News. It's been 5 years since the end of the Gulf War. Operation Desert Storm never ended. It just changed. Now, instead of soldiers in the sand, it's sailors and airmen at sea. Join us as we take a look at these new warriors at the tip of the spear. Our journey started in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. It would take us more than a day's travel across several time zones to get into the Arabian Gulf. We boarded a Navy DC-9 with airmen bound for the same destination. They are used to this. Headphones and battle naps get them through. The plane had small fuel tanks, though. We had to make 6 pit stops along the 10,000-mile route. We've been flying for about 12 hours now. We started in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, flew to Weymouth, Massachusetts, and then on north to St. John's, Newfoundland, then across the Atlantic to a small island in the Azores, Santa Maria. We are now in Rota, Spain, and we've still got probably another 4 hours of travel left. We'll fly from here to Sigonella, Sicily, and then on to Bahrain, and then the aircraft carriers. Bahrain is in the Arabian Gulf. The Pentagon prefers Arabian over Persian Gulf because historically Iran made up Persia. Persian Gulf, say the generals, is offensive to other Arab nations in the region.
Can I go ahead and get everyone's attention real quick?
There was one last bit of flying waiting in Bahrain for photographer Steve Harvey and me. You don't drive onto an aircraft carrier, you land on it. This is a COD. That's Navy jargon for carrier onboard delivery. It'll put us on the carrier deck.
Primary means of inflation, here on your right side, black toggle, pull straight down, CO2 cartridge is going to actuate, and it's going to inflate the vest.
Petty Officer Buzzard Thies has given lessons today. He says the crew has never crashed and doesn't plan on it today. That's comforting.
The strobe light, to actuate this device, there's a gray button. Everybody see it? To press it once, begin flashing. Velcro strip, place it on your Velcro, and it's flashing like this while you're sitting in the water. So any questions on that?
You strap yourself in, sitting backwards in a dimly lit, cramped cabin. Earplugs cannot mask the roar of the engines. About an hour into the flight, the carrier came into view. Serene, majestic, cutting a path through glassy water. From here, it doesn't look big enough to land on. There are arresting wires on the carrier's deck to catch us. Our pilot will have to hook one of them to land.
If we miss a track, we miss a wire on the ship, then we'll just take off and we'll do that again.
Time to strap on the cranial helmet, pray a little, and brace for a landing.
Here we go!
We're down. What looked like a raft from the air is a floating airport. Screaming with the whine of warplanes. The George Washington is the biggest aircraft carrier in the world. You could land 3 football fields on her deck. She's part of Operation Southern Watch, the UN mission to enforce the no-fly zone against Iraq and protect the flow of Arab oil.
We come as a package and we don't need anybody's permission. We go in international waters, we can go anywhere in those international waters, and from those international waters we can project power ashore, at sea, over a very long distance, and we can project it very precisely.
There are 6,000 sailors and airmen aboard the George Washington. For the blue shirts who work in the bowels of this carrier maintaining the aircraft, the only daylight some see is through the hangar deck openings. 12-hour days, 7 days a week is the normal workload. This carrier is nuclear-powered, self-contained. It's a city able to stay at sea indefinitely. Groceries and other resupply is just a phone call away. This is one of those unusual things you see at sea. This is the USS Merrimack. It is a supply ship. It is pulled alongside this carrier to resupply it and replenish some of its fuel. Those guy wires are pulling fuel lines onto this carrier, and it will feed fuel onto it. If you look down here, in the rear, I guess, the aft part, there's another ship that's going to pull up on the other side of the supply ship, and it's going to be serviced at the same time.
As you've seen during your time on board, something is happening 24 hours a day.
Bill McKees is the GW's executive officer, second in command here. Grew up in Worthington, graduated from Thomas Worthington.
Each and every person on the ship has to understand their impact and what they do on a daily basis to keep this thing turning.
This carrier has everything your town has. A post office, a shopping center, pay phones, even a hospital.
We do any kind of emergency stuff, like when we have a medical emergency called on board. We have a team that goes out, grabs them, brings them back down here.
Emergency room here.
This is basically our miniature emergency room.
And just like any city, what would this one be without a library, where there are hundreds and hundreds of volumes? Aboard the USS George Washington, plus planes taking off and landing overhead. But here's a study room in the library as well, where sailors can come to find some quiet and study and catch up on the latest newspaper if they want to. This is where I ran into a couple of Central Ohio sailors, Matt Bechtel from Bell Fountain and Brian Sisson from Marion. Have you been away from your family before?
No, this is a first, so we're experiencing new things here.
It was great to go home and leave after boot camp and everything. I didn't want to come back really.
It can be extremely lonely out here, isolating, especially for young sailors. Letters from home help. Chaplains and church services can lift the spirit, but keeping this carrier cranking is what they're here for. Personal feelings take a back seat to the mission. When we come back, we'll show you one of the most dangerous, frightening, and exciting jobs the Navy performs at the tip of the spear. One of the most spectacular and dangerous acts performed on an aircraft carrier is taking off and landing on it. Flight operations, or flight ops as the airmen call them, are what carriers do. These ships are among the most feared at sea. They wait at the president's call, able to put strike forces quickly into any world hotspot. The crew of the George Washington can punch a jet off the deck every 15 seconds.
They say it's good. Thumbs up. Winds up to 19 now.
The pilots who fly them are arguably the best in the world.
It requires you to be, without having any doubt whatsoever about your capabilities.
Professional aviators with $1 million flight school education, piloting jets worth $30 million. Sailors jokingly call them the most pampered men on the ship, guaranteed 8 hours sleep every night, in comfortable quarters separate from the rest. But all agree nobody on this ship puts their life on the line every day like they do.
The flight suits are flame retardant. The lower fittings are designed to hook to the seat pan, which contains a survival raft. What is hooking on here are leg restraints, and essentially when the ejection seat comes out of the airplane, it comes up at an angle. And instead of having your legs, which are up underneath the instrument panel on the rudder pedals, it'll pull your legs back so that they won't be knocked off as you pop out of the aircraft. It's kind of a nice safety feature to have. We like it.
After they strap on one of these rockets with wings, it's up to the flight directors and launch people to get them into the air.
Set 206, Ted 3. Set 206 on 3.
Powerful steam catapults get these planes off this deck. 0 to 165 miles an hour in 3 seconds.
We're good to go. Stroke, flaps and slides, hand down spins, all look good. Hands out, thumb up, and wings 21. There goes, checker salute. 450 clear forward. 450 clear forward. Thumbs up.
Once they're airborne, the carrier's control tower tracks them in flight. These blips on the radar screen represent fighter jets, helicopters, or, in times of war, the enemy.
It's one of our tankers, 702. He's up at Angel 7, that's 7,000 feet.
Any pilot will tell you the scariest part is landing. The pilots have to set these planes down within the 120 feet of deck where the arresting wires are. They come in at full military speed, about 180 miles an hour. So if they miss this wire, they'll have enough momentum to continue off the deck and circle around for another try. Landing safety observers, or LSOs, watch the approach.
They're all watching the pass. One guy is responsible for watching the lineup left or right. The other guy is the primary glide slope. Okay.
This one's coming in now, right?
Right. This is an F-14 coming in.
Now tell me what he's doing as he's preparing to come in here.
Okay, he's trying to maintain a certain angle of bank all the way around from the 180-degree position to the final to set up that 15-second interval or groove length as he comes on down. As he rolls around the corner, he'll see the glide slope information represented on the meatball back there, and he'll start making power corrections and lineup corrections so that he flies the hook all the way down to the touchdown point.
Hornets, Tomcats, A-6s, even radar planes with a crippled engine. The LSOs have to make split-second decisions on whether the planes are on the right path for landing.
That's a 516.
Seconds after the planes land, the deck crews direct them off the flight line so the next jet can land.
616 is already parked.
In a room right off the flight deck, traffic controllers track arrivals and departures with toy models. There seems to be a lot of danger out here. What are some of the dangers?
Well, we've got about 52 aircraft on the flight deck, and during every cycle we've got 20 of them turning, and they put out pretty great force.
So you could get incinerated if you're standing behind one or sucked in the front end, huh?
Definitely.
18 hours a day, 7 days a week, flying missions into the no-fly zone over Iraq. Saddam Hussein can't forget about using the sea lanes, too, because there's another formidable force at the tip of the spear.
We're Greyhound, we go fast. We can do 33 knots if we have to, and so as soon as they came out, they're a tug, they can't go fast. We zipped in and we snagged them.
When we come back, we'll put you on the deck of a destroyer, hunting down smugglers trying to slip out of Iraq. Welcome back. Iraq is still a rogue threat out here in the Arabian Gulf. The Navy has effectively cut off its supply routes by sea, but that still hasn't stopped some smugglers from trying to slip through. They hide their illegal cargo in a little wooden ship called a dhow. They try to dart across the Gulf without being detected. Big mistake. This is one of the reasons why. The USS John Young.
First you open the door, then you train.
This naval destroyer has enough firepower to blow just about anything out of the water.
There's 100 pounds of explosive in there. Pretty potent stuff.
Its sonar-equipped helicopter can track submarines or targets as small as tuna.
And how accurate is it?
The cruise missiles stored in these tubes can hit targets hundreds of miles away.
You could put one of these missiles through a door 800 miles away.
Yes.
An overwhelming force? You bet.
Anything can happen. You know, we just don't know. We don't trust anybody here. Nobody trusts us. They don't like us out here.
Humanitarian medical supplies are acceptable, but taking oil out of Iraq is not.
The destroyer's Harvard-educated captain, Jim McIsaac, spends most of his time on the bridge, scanning the blue waters looking for smugglers. Here's an up-close look at some of the contraband that destroyers like this are intercepting out here in the Arabian Gulf. This tug is towing $600,000 worth of Iraqi oil. That's not going to get the market because this destroyer has intercepted it.
We're a Greyhound, we go fast. We can do 33 knots if we have to, and so as soon as they came out, they're a tug, they can't go fast. We zipped in and we snagged them.
We got another guy just came out heading south from the Iraqi coast.
Off the deck. Sir. Make a beeline right for him. Let's go.
Owen's there, 1/3.
The John Young goes after contraband like a SWAT team goes after a crack house.
Sturm 170. Third cargo dhow, which has just come out of Iraq.
With the destroyer's gunners ready for action,
What about the Shima Navy warship?
the John Young's radio man tells the dhow's captain to get all his men to the front of the boat. The boarding team is ready to go. They'll look for illegal goods like computers, car parts, even batteries.
If they're clean, we let them go. If not, we'll hold them.
What'd you find?
Nothing over there at all, just fuel.
Boarding team member Jerry Chapman's from Cleveland. His sister lives in Columbus. What were the conditions on the boat? I mean, they living okay?
Conditions are not anything like you're used to seeing. Bug infested, no toilet facilities. Their water is just stored in like 400-gallon big vats. The water's dirty.
The waters off the coast of Iraq are full of these little wooden ships. Fortunately, none of them gave the John Young any trouble. The crew was constantly in the chase, but nobody complained. This is considered war zone duty. That means the sailor's income is tax-free. For many, it amounts to a 30% pay raise. Before leaving the Arabian Gulf to return to its home port of San Diego, the John Young seized $2 million worth of illegal goods from ships off the coast of Iraq. One of the highest concentrations of wealth in the world is in the Arabian Gulf. When we come back, we'll take you to a place where the gold is so pure, the clerks have to weigh it before you buy it. Oil money has produced a thriving economy in the Arabian Gulf. Bahrain is the financial capital of the region.
The whole Gulf area is an exciting mixture of old and new. You see high-rises here, hotels and private apartments, and new construction going in all the time. And right around the corner, something as beautiful as this, a grand mosque in Bahrain. Islam is an integral part of the culture here.
If you want to see where culture and commerce meet, go to the market. Here you'll see women in traditional Muslim dress, covering themselves as a sign of modesty. But at home, they rule the roost, and merchants understand that and cater to them.
Some material they have, we use it for old women, because even the style of it. Can you show me some of your...
No camera? Some merchants don't like cameras, but our Bahraini guide, Mohammed Al-Mir, artfully gave us a tour without ruffling too many feathers.
These are perfumes?
USA, it will come $1.50.
$1.50, huh? Okay. Can we bargain a little bit? I'll give you $1. It'd be okay?
Okay, $1, yeah.
How much would a shirt like this cost?
$7 دينار. آخر كم دي؟ 6 دينار.
$18. That's pretty reasonable. May I take a look? Sell them by the string. 10 dinar? 2 dinar. These are 2 dinar, and in the U.S. this would be $6 worth of fish. This would be a great buy back in Columbus.
Vegetables, fruits, spices, nuts, all staples of the Arabian diet.
Tell me what we have here.
Some sweets, Bahraini sweets. And this is tamarind.
Okay.
To taste this is sour.
Yes, it's a tart. It's got a bite to it. It's amazing the range of goods you find here. If this were Columbus, it would be the city center, but without a roof on it. Hundreds and hundreds of merchants out here selling everything from purses to foodstuffs to radios and watches. It is a bazaar in its most vivid sense.
But the mother of all Bahraini shopping delights is a trip to the souk, where the gold merchants are.
I understand the gold in this region is the finest in the world. What makes it so good?
Of course, the purity of gold.
This gold is absolutely breathtaking, and Bahrain is a very affluent, wealthy country out here in the Gulf. Folks here can afford it, and so can the foreigners who come here specifically to shop for their gold. The gold here is sold by weight, not just the price. As you see, there's a scale here, and he's weighing this beautiful heart-shaped necklace.
This is around 40 dinar.
40 dinar, let's see, that's about $120 US?
The good thing in this country, if you want to buy a gold,
you
can't trust it.
It's going
because
to be,
anybody try to cheat or to give you not real one, he'll be in trouble.
Be in trouble.
Even the jewelry.
It's against the law.
It's against the law.
But Bahrain's affluence cannot buy protection from violence. this very market was bombed by members of a radical religious group days after we left. A reminder of the instability lying just beneath the surface in this region of the world. But the Pentagon says Bahrain's trouble is tiny compared to the disruption that could paralyze the Gulf if Iraq decides to invade one of its neighbors again. Keeping Iraq in economic handcuffs and the flow of oil protected out here in the Gulf is one of the most important roles for the Navy in the 90s. Turmoil out here could have economic effects all the way back in Columbus. And that's why the Navy will be out here watching and waiting in the Gulf at the tip of the spear. I'm Jerry Revish in the Arabian Gulf. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of Eyewitness News.